reason why was because I felt like I didn't know any Bible jokes. It's a pretty serious book. I don't know if you guys know that. But there are a couple fun stories in there, I'd say. One of the fun stories is, it's in the Old Testament. It's Elisha. He's walking down this street, and you got these like teenage kids. They're all playing. I don't know if they played normal games like we play today, but they were playing games, and they start calling out. They're like, "Hey, oldie! Hey, baldy!" And he goes, "Hey, bears!" And then out of nowhere, these bears come down and attack these kids. This is a true story. You can look it up. So there's a couple things that I feel like it doesn't cover though, and I wish that it would. Did he stick around? Like, did he watch it? Was he like, "Yeah, I'm old, but you're not going to meet 21"? Was he like, is he, does he realize he went a little too far? Does he bring it back? It's too late now, right? He can't like apologize to the family. But no, then there's another story. This is more of I'd call it a warning to pastors. You got to keep it short, okay? Because people's lives depend on it. Okay? In the New Testament, it's Acts 15 or 20 or something like that. There's this guy named Eutychus, okay? And Paul comes into town and decides that he's gonna teach for as long as he possibly can. He's gonna go for not an hour, not 2 hours. We're talking like 12 hours. He's going into midnight, okay? And Eutychus was young and unintelligent, apparently, and he had a long day, and he decided he was going to sit in the windowsill of a third-story window, okay, and then fall asleep and just see what happened, okay? So he falls asleep, he falls to the ground from 3 stories, he breaks his neck immediately, and he's dead, okay? Now, Paul has to play the part of big brother in this role. I don't know if you guys know what this is, but if you had a younger sibling, you probably do. It's when you hit your younger sibling a little too hard, okay? And they start crying. And you have to run up immediately and try to calm them down before till the parents get there and you get in trouble. Well, he runs up and he's like, "You're not dead." And Eutychus is like, "I'm sorry for the distraction, guys. I'm going to go back up here and enjoy the rest of the service." I don't know if today's pastors have the power to bring me back, so if you can keep it short, I don't want to break my neck. But no, I grew up in a Christian home. I was the middle of 3 kids. If you want to know how that works, well, it's kind of self-explanatory. But in this case, my parents decided they wanted to have a kid, and my older brother came along. And then they wanted an attractive, intelligent kid, so I came along. Then they tried to duplicate it and realized shortly thereafter it's impossible. So they gave up. I was too good for the rest of them. That's why there's only 3. You can ask my mom. It's true. But I grew up a pastor's kid. And if you want to know what that's like, if you guys remember Pee Wee Sports, you always had the coach's kid, and he wasn't the most athletically gifted. He really wasn't that good, but the coach was harder on him than every other kid in the entire group. Okay, so you'd run a drill, and he'd yell at his kid. Like everybody else is half speed, he yells at his kid, "You gotta do it full speed!" And you're like, "Coach, I think you did." He's doubled over. He's barely breathing at this point. And it doesn't matter. That's what it's like to be the pastor's kid, okay? For an example, when I was in like 2nd or 3rd grade, there's this kid that was a 5th grader. He was a lot bigger than me. And he chased me and my best friend at church into this, a swing tower. You know what I'm talking about? Like the swing set, you got the tower. Well, he chases us up there, and he's calling us all sorts of names, telling us he's going to beat us up, that sort of thing. I made one joke about him being a little bit overweight, okay? And he told his mom, okay? His mom told my mom, and then my mom told my dad, and then my dad locked me in the church office in timeout. Now, I feel like I was a timeout, a victim of innocence, and it doesn't matter because I got told on it, okay? So then I'm in this office, and I get locked in there for an hour and a half, okay? And it's the first night of VBS, and I wasn't that good at telling time at the time, but I realized at one point the sun started to shift, and if I stood up on the desk, I could look through the window, and I just could see like kids enjoying VBS, and I was convinced my dad forgot about me at that point, and I realized that this was the end, okay, in my mind, because I don't know how long you can survive without food at this age, so at some point I'm going to have to start eating the desk, and then if he comes back and I'm eating the desk, he's going to kill me anyway, so I don't really have much of a choice. Then the door opens, and he goes, "What are you doing?" I decided to be a little bit smart. I used the Bible. Didn't work out in my advantage. I said, "I'm in my Father's house. What do you think I'm doing?" Apparently you can't quote Jesus in the wrong moment. He closed the door, and I lost my perfect attendance. But no, my mom, she's a sweet person, but I thought she was crazy when I was growing up. She basically how it would go is she'd be like, "Nathan, I need you to do this," whatever it was, and I'd be like, "Yeah, I'll do it. I'll get to it." And she'd go, "No, I need you to go do this," and I'd go, "Yeah, I got it." And then the third time would be, I said to sweep the floor, son. And I thought I was mentally breaking my mom, okay? That's what it was. I was just mentally breaking her every day for 18 years, okay? And I didn't realize this as much at the time until I had my own kids, and I realized how crazy kids are. You'll never know how terrible you were for your parents until you have kids of your own. I remember my parents used to say, "I hope you have a kid like you someday." I thought it was a compliment. I'd say, "I hope your parents were like you," and then I'd get slapped. I didn't even know. No, I can't make too much fun of my dad though, because the night he forgot me in timeout for about 4.5 hours, he had a million things going on at one time, okay? What I do with my kids is I'll put them in timeout, right? And then they're quiet for the first time all day. And I can watch my TV without having the volume on 75. And I'll be honest, I just forget about it. I'm sitting there watching TV, they're in the side of the room, they're not in my vision, I don't see them, I forget about them. And then later, a different kid will run up and go, "Hey Dad, you think Bubby can play with me now?" And I'll go, "How long's it been, son? I don't know." And he'll go, "Well, I took a nap, so it really could be just about any." And I'll go, "All right, you can get out of the corner." And they always act excited, like as if they're the one that messed up, not me. You know, like they're like, "Thanks, Dad," and they run out. It is what it is. But I learned that I can't do certain things with my kids. Like I try to do things all the time. Like my wife, a couple of weeks ago, was going out with her mom, and I agreed to watch the kids, because I'm a parent too, and I'm an adult, and I decided, we're going to go to McDonald's, we're going to go to the library, because that's free, and then we'll go home. Well, we get to McDonald's, and, first of all, I made their day, mostly because I'm awesome, and they wanted 2 Happy Meals. They wanted cheeseburgers and McNuggets, and that was all on me, I'm amazing. But anyway, near the end of the McDonald's trip, one of them had to use the bathroom. And the way it works with kids, those of you who don't have them, don't know this, if one has to use the bathroom, they both have to use the bathroom. So I take them both to the bathroom. I'm like, I'm feeling confident. Going to the bathroom was a success. I set them on the sink, both of them on the sink, and I tell them to wash their hands. And then I walked over here to get paper towels. Now here's where I made my critical mistake. Some of you probably already know it. I turned my back on. That was the mistake. Out of nowhere I hear, "No, Bobby," and then another kid hit the ground. Now, I think there was a physical altercation. However, I can't prove it because I was the only witness and I wasn't paying attention. So, I have to calm the other kid down. I get him calm and I talk to both of them and I go, "So here's the deal. This is what we can do. We can do one of 2 things. One, I can call your mom. I can tell her what happened, and we're going to have to go home, day's over. Or 2, we don't tell Mommy, and Daddy doesn't die today." And they were like, they chose option 2. They like their dad. So we go to the library, We have a good time. I end up going back to McDonald's and getting ice cream cones. And then we get home. Now here's the problem. My kids don't know how to lie yet. They're not good at it. So, which is sort of a good thing, but at the same time, in this instance, it kind of hurt me. What happened was we come home, and my wife's already there waiting on us, okay? And she comes up and she's like, "Hey, Levi, what'd you do today?" And he goes, "I can't tell you." And she follows after her. She goes, No, did anything happen? He goes, "Not that you know." And he's walking. Now he's trying to get away from her. And he's looking at me with this look of like, "Dad, you gotta help me." And I'm sitting here like, "It's too late. We're in this. We gotta see how this one shakes out." And he goes, "You know what? It's 5 o'clock, by the way. 5 o'clock. Sun's out, everything." He goes, "I'm gonna go to bed, Mom." And he just walks out. So she looks at me and she goes, "Well, what happened today?" Nathan hit his head. She goes, "When were you going to tell me?" And I go, "Well, you go to bed in a couple hours. I mean, I was probably going to tell you then." And she was like, that got me in trouble. Another thing is, playing ball in the house is not only allowed, it's encouraged, okay? I always wanted to play ball in the house when I was a kid. Now that I'm a parent, I let them play ball. Now here's the problem. This is also part of the don't tell mommy. We're sitting there playing. I created this game where I put one kid on the side of the room and another kid on this side of the room, and then they run, and one tries to tackle the other, right? It's basically like up-downs, if you ever played football, just it's a lot more space. Well, my youngest son somehow hit his head on a door. Now, the door was way out of the way. I don't know how he got there. But it was an athletic cut, which showed a lot of promise. So, we're working with what we got here. But no, he hits his head. Immediately, there's a pop up. He starts crying. And, of course, his mom comes in the room. And she's like, "What happened?" He goes, "Daddy made me play football. I hit my head." And I'm like, "Well, yeah. I got in trouble for that one. Did you know you can get grounded as a husband?" But no, there's another thing. I've been married for about 4.5, almost 5 years now. And for the most part, it's good. There are some things I don't really like. Like one, I don't like to share food. Okay? I don't. Because here's the thing. I have an exact size for every restaurant we go to. For instance, if we go to Arby's, I know that if I get a half-pound beef and cheddar, a large drink, a large fry, and a 6-piece cheese stick, I can get home before I pass out from the carbs, okay? Here's the problem. Sometimes she'll take a cheese stick. She'll say, "Well, just take some of my curly fries." I don't know the proper curly fry to cheese stick ratio. We might get in a car wreck on the way home, okay? This is all her fault because she's not accepting the blame. Another thing I don't understand, I'll say, is when I go to get clothes for work, I go to Walmart, and if you don't know this, in the middle of the men's section, they have 2 aisles. And in the 2 aisles, they have packages of t-shirts. You get 5 shirts in a package. Now, let's say you want black shirts, gray shirts, white shirts, blue shirts. It's kind of like Dr. Seuss. All of them are in these packages. Okay, they're doing great things in the packaging of t-shirts right now. I get the shirts. I go to the register. That's the end of it. It's like 5 minutes. I'm done. I go home. Now, my wife needs a new outfit. We're talking a completely different thing. Okay? We don't start at Walmart. Okay? You don't even go there. We go straight to the mall. She'll pick one store on one end of the mall. And she'll go, "Man, I don't really like anything in here." And then there's another store on this end of the mall. And there's nothing there she likes. And then you're walking to get to a store in the middle of the mall, and you're tired. And you look over, and you see another guy, and you see that he's in the same boat as you are, but he's been there a little bit longer. And you look at him, and you look for hope or something, but instead you just see a single tear roll down his face, and you realize that this is what you've signed up for the rest of your life, okay? This is what you're doing for the rest of your life. And it makes you feel bad. I've come up with an idea that I think they should do, and they should make like little places with lounge chairs, like a lounge area. And I've seen a couple of them in a couple stores, but they need them in every store, and it should be "Find your husband here." And you just leave them there. You go find whatever you're looking for, you come back. And here's the thing, this is what I'm saying. I know in these lounge areas, I've never seen another woman in there, okay? Never been a woman, but there's me and a bunch of 60-year-old dudes, okay? And I'll be honest, we don't have that much of a conversation. But it would be great, and I think there'd be a lot less divorces if we changed to that style of play. But I got to be honest, I do feel sorry for my wife a little bit, not just because I come up here and talk about it. But I'm not romantic at all. And I don't know if I'm the only man in the world that's not romantic, but I'm even worse if I try to be romantic, okay? For instance, like, we got married right out of high school, okay? I had to have my parents sign for me to get married, okay? That's how young I was. And that's a true story. That's not that funny. But, no, so I go out to her house and I talk to her mom and I'm like, can I marry your daughter? And she goes, yes, I figured this was coming eventually. And I go back to her bedroom and I get down on one knee and I open the box and I'm sitting there, but then like I had too long to think, okay? And I start thinking like, no, we have to have our own memories. We can't do it here. We got to be in our own places. So then I go to stand up. The problem is she turns around as I'm standing up, okay? And she's like, she thinks I'm going down. No, I'm going up. And she's going, oh yes. And I close the box and go, nope. And I just go. Okay? Now, if this isn't bad enough, I decide we're going to go to where we had our first date. Lake Vesuvius. We went fishing. You can make fun of it if you want. I like fishing. You either do what I want or we don't do it at all. So, we got out to the lake and we're walking down the boardwalk. And I'm saying things that I think convey what I want properly. What was really coming out of my mouth was stuff like, I remember I said, I don't want to be your boyfriend anymore. This just isn't working for me. We're not serious enough. All these things. And then we get to where, our fishing spot was, and I bend down again like I'm tying my shoe this time though, and she's crying, and I'm thinking, I really hit this one out of the park. Like, I didn't. And I grab the ring, and I pull it out, and she goes, wait, you're not breaking up with me? I go, no, I want to be your fiance. And she goes, well, what? How? And I go, well, she goes, well, you better want to be my husband. I go, I do. She goes, fine. And I go, fine. And then everybody watched the angriest proposal ever take place. Okay? And that's what she's dealing with. That's her thing that she has to deal with. Everybody has their burdens. I'm proud to give her hers. But no, I do have to say, I'm a little scared of getting older. I gotta be honest. Like, I know it's coming. It's unavoidable. I'm not scared for the normal reasons, like people are like, oh, I don't want my health. I don't care about my health. This is what I'm worried about, okay? Technology passes you as you get older, okay? So, for instance, my granddad didn't understand the internet. My dad sort of understands Facebook, and my mom breaks her Kindle every week. So, a story on that is, this was a couple of years ago, but, you all right? Where did you go? But no, so my mom calls me up on the phone, she goes, Nathan, I broke my Kindle, I need you to come fix it. And I go, what's wrong with it? She goes, there's a book on it I don't want. What's the book? She goes, well, I like Amish stories. And I go, yeah. She goes, I found a dirty Amish book. And I go, a dirty? She goes, I don't want to explain it. I go, I don't want you to either. So I come over, and all it was, first of all, the title was very obviously a dirty book, okay? That's all I'm saying. We're not going to go any further, but it was not clean. And I explained to her, well, this is how you delete it. She's like, thank you. And then I had to come back next week and the week after that. But here's the thing. I grew up in a funny time, okay? I grew up, when I was in high school, Facebook was popular. I got married right outside of high school. I stopped paying attention to social media. While I've not been paying attention, Twitter got popular, Instagram, Pinterest, all of these different things got popular. Now here's the deal though. I'm 22, but I don't identify with the young crowd. So I'm at my friend's house. First of all, I have older friends. Like one of my friends is 35, the next one's 30. But I'm at my friend's house, and we're watching a baseball game, and the pitcher gives up a home run. And then he walks the next batter. He hits the batter after that, and then he's 3-0 on the next batter, okay? And I say, as I'm watching the game, man, this pitcher shook. This 13-year-old looked at me and said, don't try to use our slang. First of all, I don't think I'm old enough to be trying to use anybody else's slang. Okay? That's one. But two, I look at her, I go, that's been a word since before I was saying words. She goes, that's what old people say. And I said, all right, no, it's not. She goes, do you use Twitter? And I go, no. She goes, you're old. I go, no, I'm not. She goes, do you use Instagram? No. You're old. No, I'm not. Do you use Pinterest? What is that? You're old. Okay, whatever. Hey, I'm not old. She goes, yes, you are. I go, bears! Now, here's the problem. No bears came out, okay? I was left by myself. But I did convince a 13-year-old that you can have Alzheimer's by 22, which was pretty impressive. I'm a magician. So, real quick, I do think, does anybody in here, do you think there's highlights in heaven? No? Anybody? Okay, I think there is, okay? Because if I was going to worship Ray Lewis, okay, I would start by watching his highlight videos on SportsCenter, right? If I'm going to be worshiping Jesus every day for forever, I hope it's not always singing. So here's my thing. I think there's highlight videos, because and I really hope there is, because there's one miracle that he did that I would love to watch firsthand, okay? And it's the one where he heals the blind man, right? One of the times he healed the blind man. He did it multiple times. But he walks up to the city gates, and you have all of the, the disabled people out there begging because there's no way to take care of them other than that for the day. And he sees this blind guy sitting there, and he walks up and he just stares at him for a second, and then just spits on the ground, and he rubs it around, and he makes mud. Then he wipes his spit mud on the guy's face, right? Now, I guarantee when this was going on, there was one guy in his group that was just staring at him like, why are you being this mean, right? And then the guy who's blind, who's getting the spit rub put on him, he's got to be like, like, did he just spit on me? And then his buddy's next to him, he's like, I heard him spit. He could be, I don't know. And then this is another important thing I think everybody needs to notice, and that's Jesus never gives you everything. He gives you the answers you need to take care of it yourself. He can't do it for you. When I was in high school and I was getting my license, I had to go to a driver's class. And the teacher would sit there, it was an open book test at the end of it. And he'd sit there and he'd say, okay, now paragraph 28, that's the answer to number 2. Okay? So I'd sit there, and by the end of it, every paragraph in the book had the answer that went with it. I aced the test. He didn't take it for me, but he gave me all the answers, right? So Jesus looks at this guy, and he says, all right, go wash yourself in the lake. He didn't take him to the lake. He didn't just look at him and go, you're not blind. That would work. No, you have to do it yourself. He helps you along the way. Okay? It's a very important lesson. Another thing is, I think sometimes we tend to focus on the wrong things. Okay? For instance, if I name 3 disciples, everybody's going to know what they're known for. Okay? You've got Peter, you've got Thomas, and you have Judas. Okay? Now, Peter, what's he known for? A couple things. Okay? I think he gets a lot of flack that he doesn't deserve on this one. But one of the things he's known for is when they're on the sea and he gets out of the boat and he walks up to Jesus, and then his eyes fall down, and then he sinks, right? Now, we don't know what was going on, okay? Because a couple things. If it was me, I'd be looking down to make sure that the lake didn't freeze and I just wasn't paying attention. Okay, that's one. 2, you don't know, maybe he was walking, he's getting ready to just shove off a little bit for them guys in the boat. You don't know. You don't know. But we get on to him. 11 guys were in the boat. They didn't get out of the boat. One guy did, and we're all like, ha, he didn't have faith, he sunk. Like he had more than they did. Another thing is, he refused Jesus Christ 3 times, right? And we all get on to him like, oh, he did it 3 times. He did it 3 times. He did it 3 times. Here's the deal. 1, Jesus knew that Peter was a very prideful man, okay? And that's something we all know about Peter, okay? He didn't want to have his feet washed because he was not going to go, he didn't want Jesus to do that because of pride. He cut a dude's ear off because he thought that was the right thing to do. Jesus rebukes him for it, right? But Jesus knows he has a set amount of time with him. Okay? So he looks at him and he realizes he has to do some tough love and pretty quickly. What's the best way to do it? Humiliate him. Okay? He tore him down. Okay? And that was needed for him to learn the lesson that he needed Jesus. He couldn't do it on his own. That's a hard lesson to learn. Another thing, Thomas. Real quick, everybody, what's Thomas known for?
Doubting.
Doubting, right? I'm sure he did other things in doubt, okay? I'm just saying, here's the deal. I have some friends, okay, that if I find out that, let's say, a celebrity passed away, I see it on Facebook, they try to convince me he didn't. I'm saying it's a sick thing, but some people do it. I want facts. If I thought Jesus was dead, then everybody's like, no, I saw him just the other day. I want facts. He wants facts. He's doubting Thomas for the rest of his life. Longer than the rest of his life. It was 2,000 years ago. But no, then the third one. Here's the third one, Judas. Okay? With Judas, what are we dealing with here? We're dealing with a guy that hasn't done anything worse than any of us in here has done. Okay? The only difference is we're not directly the reason why Jesus died. Okay? That's the only difference. Okay? Of course, all of our sin accounted for his death. But we're not the one that killed him. Okay? So this is what happens. Right? Judas has his whole life is told. There's going to be this Savior that comes. He's going to make us the most powerful kingdom on earth. And he's sitting there listening to this, and he's like, Jesus is supposed to be all powerful. It's supposed to be a kingdom. He's supposed to be a king. And he makes it to where, in his mind, I believe, and I've been taught this a couple times, in his mind, he thinks that by forcing Jesus into this hole where everybody's coming after him to kill him, Jesus is going to have to come out on top and kill everybody else. He's going to show his glory, right? What happened? Jesus dies. Okay? But every year on Easter, okay, you'll hear that one person. I hear it every year. Oh, if I'd have been there whenever Jesus was on the cross, I'd have torn him down off the cross and saved his life. I don't know if you read the same Bible I did. Jesus had to die for us to be saved. Terrible things have to happen for great things to happen. If Pearl Harbor doesn't happen, America doesn't get in World War II, we don't win the World War if you can win, and we don't come out into the best economic boom anybody's ever experienced. It doesn't happen. If Judas doesn't betray Christ, Christ doesn't get put on the cross, Christ doesn't die, we're not saved. We all need to say thank you to Judas. So in a sense, if I ever ran into Judas, I would first give him a hug. Because if he didn't mess up, it might have been me that had to be the one that made the mistake, and then it'd be Nathan for the rest of humanity. And then on top of that, though, I'd still punch him in the face because I got to represent it. It's not cool, okay? But, real quick, I hope you guys had a good night. Well, again, afternoon. I wrote it down this time because I didn't like the way it came out the last time. But no, we do have to, I do want to get a little bit serious here real quick. Is this mic even working or is it all me? I'm going to hold it up here just in case. But here's the deal. So, I grew up, and like I said, I was in a Christian family. My dad was a pastor. And my whole life I grew up around the church, around that sort of thing. And, but when I was 9 years old, my dad lost his health. And by that, it was a hard time. And he lost his job, and we fell into a type of poverty that is just hard to explain. Okay? But then by the age of 11, I realized that I was freakishly large, and I was athletically gifted in playing football. I was very good. I was better than all my friends. And so, I made a decision right then that if I did everything right, okay, if I lived my life the right way, okay, if I ignored parties, if I ignored girls, if I ignored everything, and focused on football, I was going to make it to the NFL, okay? And so I lived my life that way, all the way up until my freshman year. In 6th grade, I was the youngest person and only 6th grader in the high school workout, okay? I was too young to even participate in powerlifting, okay? That's how young I was in this. And I was the only one there that was there every day. And then my freshman year of high school, there's a cheap shot. And it almost breaks my neck, and it knocks me out. Okay? The doctors literally said that if I wasn't wearing the neck collar that I was wearing, I probably would have died. My neck would have snapped, I would have been done. And I remember the doctors talking and saying, well, maybe he shouldn't play football anymore. Maybe he should, this is a pretty traumatic injury. And I'm like, I remember I had a prayer where I told God, I said, I don't care what your will is. I don't care what you want. I'm pulling my family out of this. Again, I have to pull my family out of this. I've put this on myself at a young age. And that day forward, it was no longer, football was no longer something I enjoyed. It was a job that I had that was entertaining. Okay? Because that was my job. Every day was get better at football. And so every year I'd have an injury that would take place and knock me off for a week or two, just long enough for me and God to get in an argument, and then I'd be back. And I always thought I was winning, right? And my senior year comes, and I get offers from a lot of colleges, and I find out that I got my girlfriend, who's now my wife, I got her pregnant. And so I feel this strong need at that point that I need to not go to college to play football. But at the same time, I have made it my mission in life to pull my family out of this and take them to take care of them. That's what I want them to do. And so I go to college, and 3 days in, I get hit with something called rock. And I don't fully understand it, even to this day, but basically, there's only two ways to get it. One is to be a hardcore drug user, and then the other way is just to be horribly dehydrated. Okay? Basically, in 3 days of conditioning, I got dehydrated to the point that my muscles were secreting the acid from when you work out, but then my kidneys didn't have enough fluid to flush the acid out. So what ended up happening was I was tearing down my body in my muscles, and then also killing my kidneys. I almost went into kidney failure. And I get done with that, and I come back, and then I get hit with gallstones. I had a lot of gallstones that sidelines me. I get done with the gallstones. I come back, and then we do a thud-up practice. And I get, basically, this dude cheap-shotted me again. And I get what's documented as, I believe, my 5th concussion. I'm not sure. I've had a lot of them. I can't keep track. But at that point, the doctor said, we cannot let you play football anymore. Your career is done. And that time, whenever it's taken away, you tend to listen. And on top of that, I didn't want to be the dad that didn't know what was going on. I didn't want to have head problems when my kids were 20. And so I quit football, I quit college, and I come home. But the shame I felt from not realizing my life's purpose, not succeeding, not taking my family out of it. I couldn't look at my family in the eyes. I didn't talk to them for months afterwards. I didn't interact with them. We came back home, and living with my parents wasn't even an option. Okay, I had to go live with her family. And then, you live with the fact that daily you look at things going on, and people are having a hard time meeting bills, and it's my fault. It's all my fault because I didn't do it right. Somewhere along the way I messed up. And I remember a couple of things that drove me away from Christ was myself and then other people. The church I was going to when I got my girlfriend pregnant, people started talking, and I would hear them say horrible things about me. Horrible things about, these were the same people that a week before they found out I was the greatest person in the world, and that now I'm just a piece of trash, garbage on the side of the road, and I feel like I'm nothing. And I fall into, you could call it a depression. I started drinking, and I was drinking every day. It got to the point where I was drinking between Monday and Friday. I would drink at least 60 beers, and I didn't even keep track of the weekend because that's my time. And my marriage starts falling apart. Everything starts falling apart around me. I'm not doing good at my job. I'm not doing good at being a husband. I'm not being good at being a dad because every day I'm either, I'm working and then I'm drinking till I pass out, and then you wake up the next day, you're late for work. I mean, nothing's working out. And then last October, I'm still living this life, and not a lot of people around me knew that I was doing this. And I get invited to the church that I said my wife and kids went to church. I didn't pay attention ever. But I get invited to play in this play they had called Heaven's Gates of Hell's Flames. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it's basically a set of skits. And I was the only comedic relief in the entire show. They gave me the part of Butch. And he's the only funny guy in the whole thing. And it was funny because Butch is one of the guys that gets to go to heaven. And I remember thinking, I'm in the back getting ready to walk down and do the performance. And I think to myself, it's kind of funny, if Butch was Nathan, he wouldn't be going to heaven. And then it all, in one moment, hit me what I'd been doing wrong, how I'd been living wrong, how I'd been fighting God every step of the way, saying, you don't tell me what to do. And I believe that when God gives you a talent and you don't use it to honor Him, He will very willingly take it away from you. Okay? And that's what happened to me. And I realized all this in a second, and then I get saved literally 10 seconds before I'm supposed to say my first line. And I realized at that moment, there's things we have to do. And it's a struggle. I'll be honest, sometimes I fall off the wagon. Sometimes I mess up, and I'm still struggling every day. I honestly, I've messed up a couple times, but for the most part, I don't drink anymore. I'm at church every Sunday, every Wednesday, every time it's open. I try to help. I've talked to people about Christ, and that's why I realize also that I can be funny. I can make people laugh. And if you don't use your gifts to honor God, He will take them away. And so I realized preaching never worked for me. Preaching never reached me. Preaching, I'm sure it works for some people, but for me it never did. What reached me was, I'm Butch and the Funny Man, And so I realized what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this, we can call it a mission, we can call it a service, whatever you want to call it, but it's not a normal church service. You invite your friends who aren't saved, you invite them, they come out, we have a good time. I'm going to make you laugh, we're going to have a good time at the end. I'm going to give you something to go home and think about. And that's what I believe God wants. And that's what I'm doing to honor God with my talent now. And honestly, I'm happy for the first time since I was 11 years old. And thank you for letting me come to your church.